Who here has cooked one hell of a pork steak? Tell me about your one hell of a pork steak. Anybody? Has anybody ever cooked one hell of a pork steak? Jason,
I've never done a pork
hey,
steak at
we'll
all.
bring here. Let's see if Jason porks. I know Jason has because he's from Missouri.
Have you seen his entry?
I'm gonna try to bring him on. Is it straight up legit? I just added him. I don't know if he's gonna do it or not.
He's the only entry, but my gosh, he did it right. He goes all the way to the grocery store with it.
That's awesome. We'll see if he joins us. He may not be able to now. They're not a thing in New Jersey? What in the world? How is that? Dude, you know what else they don't have out there is white gravy.
Yeah.
I've never seen white gravy like sausage gravy out there. Cal's phone died.
They cut them up in different ways here. Sometimes they'll cut them up into like countries. They call them country style steaks.
Ribs.
They're just little strips that they cut into, and they come out pretty good as well.
Yep.
But they sell them at HEB here already cut up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do that here. They just call them country style ribs, and all it is just pork butt they've cut into strips.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Dave Fear says white gravy like Alfredo sauce or carbonara. No. So I need to put if there was such a thing as biscuits and gravy competition, I know I would win. I promise. I know there's some dudes in here that could flat throw down too, but I have a chance, I think. Because I don't have a chance right now though, because my oven's been down for a year and we've been cooking in this little countertop oven thing. But we got like 10 smokers out there. I could do it in the smoker.
Heck yeah, you can do biscuits, man. Do a biscuit test and make country gravy with it.
You know, we started
do your
saying
biscuits
this
on the
thing,
smoker.
you know, I've been hanging out with Jeremy Yoder a little bit. It's pretty freaking funny stuff too. But we've been saying this word, biscuit dynamics, for those biscuit test guys, because they're all doing biscuit tests, you know. I think Jeremy's making a shirt that says biscuit dynamics on it. It's pretty cool.
It's like biscuit weather.
I shouldn't have leaked. Yeah, brisket weather, biscuit weather, yeah. So, but no, like white gravy, like you start with butter and flour, make a roux with the sausage grease, and you got to douse all your stuff in there. Phil Wingo from Pork Mafia has this stuff called what the heck is that stuff called? Greek Mafia. I think he literally just took a bottle of Cavender's down, had the scientist guy like make this, and then tweaked it a little bit. But it's really dang good. So I put that Greek Mafia stuff in that gravy, and then we do pepper. Like you don't need no salt, but pepper at that point, and then red pepper on the plate, because I think if you put the red pepper in it while it's cooking, I think it doesn't do right. I just don't like the way it works. I think that if you put try Jason one more time here. I think if you put the pepper on the thing at the end, I don't think it is too much heat at that point. It's just a nice little bite that gets you once in a while. But then I make my own sausage from scratch. I make the gravy from scratch. And then I make the biscuits from scratch. Truth be told, I use the red cookbook. What's up, Jason? I use the Betty Crocker cookbook, bacon powder biscuits. That's my favorite. And then it's game on.
You ever had chocolate
anyway,
gravy?
Jason, tell us. I have not. Is there such a thing?
Yeah, they make it basically just like white gravy, but without sausage in it. But they put cocoa powder and sugar in it, and they eat it over biscuits, just like biscuits and gravy. But it's literally like a chocolate sauce. Yeah, they used to do that at one of the hospitals I worked at. I think it was like one Sunday night a month. They did biscuits and gravy. They would do biscuits and chocolate gravy at midnight for the night shift, and man, everybody just went crazy over it. I was like, I don't know, it's it's not really my thing, but it's a big deal.
Dang, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. We're gonna have to do that when you come up here sometime. Make some chocolate gravy. But anyway, Jason, tell us about your pork steak. Come on now. You said you made the world's best pork steak.
Oh, I don't know about the world's
I'm from
best.
Missouri. I'm from Missouri, dude. You got to show me.
Hey, man, I don't know about the world's best. I'm from Missouri, so I throw down on some pork steak.
I know, right? Yeah. Isn't it crazy that the rest of the world, like, I don't know. I heard somebody the other day saying that it started in Texas, and I said BS.
No.
That's
Nothing
a
with
St.
pork
Louis
started in
thing.
Texas.
No, they can't be. They can't be the brisket like world headquarters or nothing, and get pork steaks. Missouri's got to have something.
No.
You know.
Right.
So tell. I didn't see your entry yet, Jason. So explain it to me here on the call.
All right. So for this one, I did thick center cut pork steaks, which center cut does make a difference in my opinion. You get a little bit more marbling, a little bit more fat than if you do edge cut. So I like doing center cuts.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of a twist on a rib rub that I like to do. I actually start with a brisket rub or heavy salt and pepper. But I say heavy, I mean coarse. But I do kind of a light coat of that for a base, and then typically do a sweet rub on top. One of my favorite rib rubs right now is actually the guys from St. Louis, the Heavy Smoke Competition Barbecue team.
Yeah, Chris.
Yep, I like their white label. It's pretty good stuff. But this one I did kind of 3 layers. Started with the Killer Hogs TX brisket. Then I went in with some Meat Church Texas sugar, really just for color. And then top that off with the white label. And I do mine.
Cool.
I didn't marinate these, didn't do anything. I just let them sweat out while I was getting the drum fired up. I ran 275 with some rockwood charcoal and hickory chunks. And I don't remember how long these ones took. Obviously, it depends on how thick they were. These were big boys. For two steaks. It was a little over 3 pounds actually. So they were thick, about an inch and a half.
Wow.
And I take them to about 170. Color wise, I just kind of look. Sometimes it'd be 160, sometimes it's 180. And then I wrap in peach paper for the next 30, 45 minutes until they're about 190. Take them off and rest. I like mine pretty tender to where I can basically cut them with a fork for the most part. They're pork butts, so you can take them to 210. I mean, they're going to fall apart when you take them off the grill, but you can take them up high. The only reason I wrap towards the end is just to keep that last bit of moisture in.
Yes, we just set a record, Jason Farnham. We have 7 people on the call. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna have to say Jason Pork Slabs, because there's 2 Jasons on the call. So my aunt gave me a book like 3 or 4 years ago. I need to publish pictures of this book. It's published in 1961, and it says barbecue is fun and economical too. And inside that, it was published in St. Louis, and it's totally like 60s, right? Well, I found it the other day when I was digging through that box full of junk. This book is just so freaking cool. But it has like an OG St. Louis pork steak recipe in there, which is pretty dang cool. And it said that pork steaks should be 1.5 inches or so thick.
Yep.
Is what it said in there. But now if you go to grocery store around here, so what they do is they take a pork butt, bone-in pork butt,
Yeah.
and they cut what's called the neck. They cut the neck off of it. That's not the money muscle. That's the side that is like the bone doesn't go all the way across. It goes part of the way across, and then there's like 1.5 inches or 2 inches of just muscle there of meat. And then so they cut the neck off of it, and then they take that bone side and they put that through the bandsaw. Well, these days they cut that up into 5/8 of an inch thick chunks. And I just don't, they're not thick enough. You can't hardly do nothing with them. You just murder them as soon as you put them on. Not the same, I don't think.
Well, for those
So,
the thin
yeah.
cut ones, my mom buys those all the time and asks me to cook them. I will marinate those thinner ones actually in Italian dressing, and I just grill them straight on top of the grill. They're not smoking. They're not smoke worthy. They don't have enough fat in them to stay tender.
Yeah. So I think what I'm gonna do, because it doesn't count because I'm, I can enter, but I'm not gonna win nothing. But what I'm inclined to do is take a pork butt, cut it out collar trim. And so collar trim is like the money muscle, half of the butt past the bone. Have you ever cooked one of those, Randy, in contest, collar trim? Those Memphis guys are doing it all the time. So you take and, like, if you're going to debone, you put fat cap down the way I do it. And then I need to probably document this, huh? So I always start fat cap down, and then I cut straight down right where the bone is the tallest on the backside of the butt. And then I just you can kind of curve down like this around that bone. And then you can take a sharp turn right there and just cut that whole thing off. Then you got the bone over here, and you got this nice boneless big chunk of pork butt right there. I think I'm going to take that because the Prairie Fresh Naturals butts have so freaking much marble in them, dude. It's ridiculous. And then just cut that into 1.5 inches is, I think, what I'm going to do. Just get rid of the bone, just have the glorious half of the butt, and just go for it. Jason's shaking his head no.
You're starting with this premium cut of meat. The whole point of being able to cook a good pork steak is to take the shittiest cut of meat you can find and make it taste
I
great.
agree.
I totally agree on that. See, here our pork steaks in South Carolina, I have a freezer full of pork steaks. We eat that like more often than anything else. That's our go-to. But they slice them here just like default. They're about maybe a little over 1/2 inch, not quite 3/4 cut. So they're thinner. You grill them usually about 400 degrees, slap them on there, give them a few minutes on each side, get the pork or the fat to start rendering out, but not completely. Leave it nice and moist still. Let them rest, then go to town. We don't do the big thick ones here. And where I'm from in Massachusetts, there was no such thing as a pork butt or a pork steak up there. I'd never had one until I was 20 years old when I moved here. But it's like one of my favorite things to eat. I love them.
I've still smoking the thinner ones like you're talking about, Jason, but I have to wrap them in foil and add butter and honey and brown sugar like I would a rib just to reintroduce some more moisture back in.
Really?
Otherwise,
I don't have a problem with that. If I smoke, but I don't smoke them very long. I'll put them on ice cold and go maybe 30 minutes or so, just enough to get some good smoke flavor, but nothing because they're thin. So, it doesn't take much. And then I'll just I'll put them on the Weber and just bring it up to about 400, between 400, 450, slam them on there, get a good sear and go to town. Little hot sauce, and man, make you want to slap your mama.
So whenever the National Pork Association decided that it was they caught that guy out in when they caught that guy out in Vegas that was slopping the hogs with the food from the strip. Did you ever see that episode on Dirty Jobs?
Yeah.
Dude, that was intense. So I remember cooking at Wellsville at a contest. That's Wellsville, Missouri. And up at that contest, when I was cooking, that was 2017, I think. And my son Joe was a super fan of Dirty Jobs, man. We watched every episode like 10 times, whatever. Well, anyway, I remember that episode. Well, anyway, the pork guys were there, and because the Missouri Pork is who it was, and they're just right there in Columbia, I think, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah.
And they came in the trailer, and they were all, I don't know why they were there. They were just handing out stickers and stuff. And I was asking them, so at that time, that's when you could go to the grocery store and it said pork sirloin, right? Or it would say pork like beef cuts. And I was like, this is a conspiracy. Like they just lowered the cooking temp of pork so that you can make a medium rare pork chop or whatever.
Yep.
And then they renamed them with beef cuts. They don't do that no more, I don't think. At least not in my grocery store. But I was giving those guys a hard time because you know how I got to poke the bear. And when those guys was in the trailer, I was like, so how come what's this deal with you guys renaming the cuts of pork like pork sirloin chop or something? And he was like, well, because I didn't know anything about the dirty jobs thing. And he said, well, trichinosis has been a deal up until like recently. And that was because of slopping the hogs with food for like people ate or whatever. And the food goes bad, bacteria goes crazy. There's this whole Danny thing that Danny could explain. And it makes people sick. And so basically because of that, we actually located the farm that was doing it out in Las Vegas. And I said, was it the one with the Dirty Jobs episode with all the dumpsters of slop from the strip that they were taking out there and they were feeding this massive pork operation? He said, yes, that was the farm. And he said, when we shut that down, it was a massive pork farm. He said, when we shut that practice down, now you cannot slop commercial hogs. And he said it killed it. It got rid of the trichinosis in pork.
Yeah.
And now we can lower that that cooking safe temp thing. So I started doing 145, and fellas, let me tell you, best decision ever. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Tenderloins to 142, take them off, tint them, and let them pull up to 145. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm anxious. So what happened to me was I was making that summer sausage here a while back. I made a couple batches of deer summer sausage, and so they had a sale on pork butts. They were prairie fresh naturals, and I started cutting those up and deboning them, and I was like, my God, man. The marble in these butts is just nuts. So that's what inspired me, Jason, to do the 1.5-inch boneless pork steak. So I don't know. So Jason, would you approve it if I went ahead and went all the way around the bone and just got the bone out?
So a boneless pork butt?
Well, like Jason Pork Slabs here was he's a Missouri boy.
Yeah,
so
no,
he was
I'm with you.
Nah.
Yeah, I saw him. He was doing this like the whole time.
I mean, you do you. You do you, but it's not a pork steak if it doesn't have a bone in it.
Yeah,
I do agree with you though.
What I like about pork steak is when you do get the bone in, and whether it's thick or thin, you end up with a few pieces of meat, that you do get that are just so tender. They're always the ones cradling the bone to the money, section of the money muscle or whatever. And you savor that bite because, you work your way to it or you eat it first, whatever your fancy is. But when you get that bite, man, it is just, there's nothing like it other than a beautiful ribeye,
It's always in that little socket, that little medallion you get in that little socket. Yeah, I take those before I cut them up for the family.
Yeah. See, I saved that for my last bite. That's the last, that's the coup de grace, it's like.
Oh no, those are my chef's cuts while I'm on the cutting board. I'm pop those in.
The dad tax.
Yep.
Dad tax. So this kind of like the spinalis on a ribeye. That's dessert.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
That same
part,
thing, man. When I eat a ribeye, I save the cap for last. It's like I'm not touching it till the end.
Yeah, man, totally. So as far as like cooking pork steaks, like where are we at here? Like sweet, salt and pepper, just pound it with rub and sear it, and then sauce it. Like where are we at here on profiles?
I do no
What do you think, Richard?
Salt and pepper for me. That's pretty much it. And I usually smoke mine about an hour. Then I wrap it in foil, put some butter in it, and then I finish it off. And then usually that's pretty much all I do to it, and cut it up into chunks. And I do make tacos out of it, but
I was gonna say, you better make a taco.
yeah.
What thickness are you doing?
Whatever I buy at the store, I honestly have no preference on pork steaks.
Yeah, but typically, like, what are you seeing in your area? Because for me, it's like butcher decides, unless you get it.
I was gonna say they're probably about maybe under a half an inch, not quite half an inch.
That's about what we got here.
Yeah.
You're in Georgia, right?
No, I'm Texas.
Texas. Okay, I thought somebody here was in Georgia.
Texas. You got to clap 3 times when you say it.
And hold up the Lone Star.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, or salute, or do something. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. What about Ashley? You're Georgia. What do they do down there?
Ashley's Georgia. That's what it was.
I never even heard of that until y'all brought it up. You and Aaron.
Pork steak?
What? Yeah, I never heard of them. No,
And you're born and
They like
raised
it.
there, aren't you?
Chicken and white sauce.
No, I'm in Georgia.
Yeah, chicken
I'm
white
always
sauce.
in Georgia.
Georgia's got to have that Alabama white sauce on everything.
Man,
Yeah.
that ain't a bad idea though. That white sauce on a pork steak, man. Danny, what do you do in Oklahoma? Pork steaks.
I haven't done pork steaks before, so I don't really know. I
So
don't
you'll have
think
to start
it's
with
that big a
dissecting.
thing here.
Teriyaki.
There's more and more.
Teriyaki. No, I don't think we'll do teriyaki. No.
Well, so here we got to hear Randy's pork steak. That's where this whole weirdness started.
Oh,
What do
sorry.
you do on your pork steak there, Randy?
I mean, I've never cooked a pork steak before. I mean, I probably would just smoke it. So, and I would hit it with maybe like some kind of either my porker rub or the rib rub. But I mean, I've never cooked it here.
And where do you live?
In Texas.
Texas.
You got clapped 3 times
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you say it.
The grocery stores here, they have the country style ribs. And I don't think I've ever seen the pork steaks. At least I haven't been looking for them.
So the neck part, what they call the neck, that's the side where the bone stops. It's past that. That neck is the country ribs. So it's just like they cut that whole. So I was buying. So the local butcher shop down here at the grocery store, when they did their pork steak sale, it was ridiculous, dude. They would sell hundreds of pounds of pork steaks, like it was crazy. And the butcher guy down there that was cutting all the meat, I would call him up, and like whenever I heard they were having pork steak sale, I'd say, "Hey man, can I come in there and like buy a whole bunch of just ground pork?" Well, I was buying those necks. They hate them because they hate those things because they're hard to sell, the country rib. And so what he would do is he would take those necks and grind them up, and that became just ground pork, and I would buy it like $1.19 a pound. I think one time I got it for 89 cents a pound, and that's what I would make all my deer sausage out of. That was like an awesome thing that I was able to get that stuff for a while.
That's what I do with a butt. I just buy I buy 2 butts, packed up, and I'll just, grind them up. Everything. Just no trimming, just debone it pretty much, and right in the grinder it goes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was them grinding it, $1.19 or 89 cents a pound.
Oh wow!
Like right in that range. It was ground. Like when I brought it back, all I had to do was make sausage.
Eat it, yeah. That's crazy.
That was awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks for jumping on here, man. I'm having a good time with these things. I'll try to do another one next week.